All right, welcome everyone to our live Zoom call with Marcello Rodante of Brazil as part of our Integrative Lawyers of the World series. Why don't we take a moment and have everyone go around and just introduce themselves quickly? And Marcello, I'm going to ask that you go last because then you can introduce yourself and talk a few minutes about your practice, anything that we talked about in the video or anything else you want to say, and
Uh-huh.
also open it up to questions as you like. Okay?
Of course. Okay, that's great.
Okay. Kim, do you want to go first?
Sure. Everybody who's here knows me. I'm Kim Wright. I've started saying I'm a central figure in the integrative law movement. and and I am a digital nomad currently in Cape Town, but from the United States.
Very nice. Blanca?
Hi, I'm Blanca Leon. Not very English name, but I was born in the UK. My dad's from Spain and my mum's from Bolivia. Integration there of cultures. I worked in corporate for about 10 years and then I jumped ship a year and a half ago. And I'm now legal consultant of my own business and conscious contracts certified practitioner. Doing loads of work with Kim and some of my other colleagues from the course and really exploring this value-based contracting. I'm really interested in this topic, this area, because it's new to me and I'm just eager to learn. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. We're glad you're here and transitioning from corporate into a more integrative approach. Marcel, that's something that you can pick up on because we talked about that quite a bit.
I really loved that part of the call, actually, you know, and you mentioned the pause and how important it was to take that moment to integrate and contemplate the next phase and the importance of having all these other experiences and insights. It just brings that whole perspective, doesn't it? It kind of feeds all those different parts of yourself. So yeah, that's a bit of the conversation that I really resonated with.
Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. Thank you. Gabby, I don't know if you want to take a moment to introduce yourself.
Yes, hi, I'm Gabby McKellar, and I'm a magistrate in South Africa in Cape Town, where Kim is now visiting. So I had the privilege of having dinner with her the other night. And what else can I say about myself? I'm married, I've got 4 children, they're all grown up and left home. I've got 2 dogs and a cat. And I love to try and practice a therapeutic kind of law from the bench as a magistrate presiding over child protection cases and parents in conflict, those kinds of cases. So that's me.
We're glad you're here. And Gabby was also a guest in Series 1 of Integrative Lawyers of the World. So if you guys have not had a chance to check out her episode, please do. And I'm Carrie Raleigh, host of Integrative Lawyers of the World. I'm glad everyone is here today. And now I'll turn it over to you, Marcella.
Oh, thank you so much. For me, it's an honor to be here with you all. It's great. It's a great opportunity to talk with each other, to have a conversation. I believe that all of us are trying to do our best. And of course, it's not so easy because I don't know if all of you agree with me, but I think we must try to, we're struggling with the system that tries to make things more traditional, more concrete, more dense. And when we try to change the situation and you start to work differently, and then you are going to see how hard it is. So that's the important point to me. And I'm trying to do my best to try to change the way the legal profession is developed in Brazil and in my own practice. And we need to try to figure it out how to implement that. because we have to think about the language that we use for a different type of people and groups, different types of consciousness that people have, which are the language that we should try to use to try to impact more people as much as possible, and how to use all the methods that are consensual methods, and try to bring people that are more adversarial to this kind of methods, how to implement mediation, how to implement collaborative practice. And so that's the exercise that I have been dealing with, and I would like to discuss with all of you. And a point that I would like to bring that I was looking at, and I think it's pretty important, maybe I should talk a little bit more, is about the communication, the non-defensive communication, how we defend ourselves, and how much impact our defensiveness bring to our own, our family, our work, our clients, our relations in general. So it's not easy for me. You know how many difficulties I have. It's not easy to be non-defensive, to have a non-defensive approach in a legal system, because the legal systems build you.
I'm not sure if
We
my internet
learn.
froze. Marcelo, I think the internet just froze right when you were saying, I'm not sure if it's the legal system in being able to be non-defensive or using non-defensive communication.
Yes, I think it's a challenge, because legal systems prepare people to be defensive, and how much impact the defensiveness bring to society in general, and how to work the language and the communication in a way that you bring openness, you bring curiosity, you bring vulnerability. So that's a challenge in the legal system. Maybe in other fields, maybe, because I think this is a human challenge, but maybe in other fields it's not so challenging. But in the legal field, wow, because you are going the opposite way.
Yeah.
So that's the main topics I think I would like to talk to you.
Yeah, let's see if everyone's okay with it, we could dig in a little bit on the non-defensive communication. After our conversation, Marcello, I had noticed a few times with me in personal relationships, one with my ex-husband, without real friends and family and people without realizing it have benefited from my conversation with you, because conversations started in a way where I felt that I was getting defensive. And based on our conversation, I paused and I actually said to myself, how would this look if it wasn't defensive? And just by asking myself that question, I was able to shift and then stepped into more of a curiosity approach. So you saved me some fights in my real life. So
You like to
He's a
hear
legal
that.
change maker.
But in the law firm setting, I wonder if anyone, or in the courtroom setting with your Gabby, if you can see it in different lawyers that come before you, or any practitioners who see it with fellow lawyers, is there like somewhat of a competitiveness between lawyers where you almost, that competitiveness almost brings with it a defensiveness, if someone that encourages it, and how to step away from that when you're talking with other lawyers?
Yes, I'd see that a lot in the family court, and I'm very fortunate that the Children's Act, which guides, in fact, prescribes how the court should run, has got sections that prescribe that the proceedings should be non-adversarial. And so when legal representatives or even unrepresented people arrive and they are combative or hostile, I like what Marcello said about language. And so I take pains to say that, and I try to say it in simple layman terms for the purpose so that the people can understand. I say, I'm not a winning or a losing court, and I'm not a punishing or rewarding court. This court is a problem-solving court. And we are going to agree on what the problem is, in my case, from the child's perspective. And we are going to try to collaborate, myself, the magistrate, the mother, the father, the lawyers, to come up with a solution. So I like the language of problem solving.
I can see how that would shift the energy in the courtroom. I noticed even when I worked in a law firm, this one law firm I'm thinking about in particular, we were all good friends with the people. We enjoyed working with each other. I'm still close friends with many of them now. But when we had an attorneys meeting in the conference room, even with each other, there was always a little bit of a one-upmanship, a little bit. Like you had to prove yourself to others in the meeting. And I think that puts you on the defensive a little bit. And I'm wondering if anyone else has had experiences like that within their law firm or with their legal colleagues and how they deal with it. Or it was just me.
I didn't have that experience. I worked in house. I trained in house as well, and actually it was a very collegial team. We were spread all over the place, so there was very few people locally, but I really felt like for the most part it was a real community. So unfortunately I haven't had that experience, but obviously I think we all have had experiences with that kind of defensiveness. Yeah.
It's fortunate that you have not had that experience in the collegial way.
From a team perspective, definitely not.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Marcello, is there any tidbits or practices that you can suggest to people when they start feeling like they're having or engaging in a defensive communication and how they can shift it to a non-defensive one?
It's a difficult question, a hard question, because I think I was trying at least to help people explaining how non-defensive communication works. So lectures, trainings. So when I have the space to talk about non-defensive communication, I think it's an important moment that people in trainings in general, they start to think how they address questions, how they make statements, how they use predictions. There are communication tools. So I have this space, this moment, which is a training, for instance. So maybe I could say to you that I can use for me in my personal life. And I also can help people to try to understand how it works. But when I'm working, for instance, as a mediator or as a lawyer, so those are tools that I have and I try to use. But it's not something, at least for me now, that I can say, oh, look, you are being so defensive because of this or that, because this is starting to be judgmental as well. So those are resources that people in conflict need to try to develop to have this important mindset that is the problem-solving mindset. But this is a path that each one of us needs to try to go over. So it's difficult I can't use it to try to use in other people, but I can try to use it to me. So I do the exercise that you were saying. I'm starting to be defensive. So when we are going to be defensive, we're protecting ourselves. We are protecting our ego. We are protecting our image. And then when starting doing that, we enter into this war model that Sharon Strain Analysis says that it's the war model, and use language to do that. And we create barriers, and we see our people that we are being defensive as our enemy, despite being your daughter, despite being your mother, the one that you love. But at that point, you feel like an enemy. So, and you try to do something to attack, or to withdraw, or to surrender, depending on the situation. And I think that we have to be conscious about that. We have to have acknowledge about that and try to, but it's so hard. I can tell you that I don't quite remember when I went to Canada to have my first training with Sharon. I don't remember, maybe 2010, something like this. And I still have her CDs, her books, all the materials of the deep training, everything. And I always keep reading and recording and remembering. And I don't know how many presentations I did till now in this specific topic, no defense communication, and I am still learning. And I still have to be reading and remember and exercising, because it's like a never-ending process to try to communicate better non-defensively, because our instincts bring us to be defensive. We learn as a kid, and we have a human DNA that is defensive, that it is adversarial. The culture is that. And we are trying to make things different because we want different solutions, different outcomes. And we see that legal professions is so dense, and we're trying to do something. Okay, so some people call us pioneers. Okay, Kim Wright is a pioneer, of course. But how hard it is, wow, that's the point.
No, that's a very good point. And you said a couple of things that I see Kim has a question. So let me just make this comment, and then Kim will go for your question. But a few key things that I heard as you're talking about is you have to start thinking about it before you get into a conflict. Be conscious about how you want to be, learn the tools before you get into a conflict, and practice. Keep practicing and keep practicing. And so that just had to do with, related to what you were saying. But Kim, you had a question?
It's more of just a comment that the Sharon Ellison's work is definitely a different paradigm. And one of the things I remember from it is the tool of curiosity.
Mm.
And that curiosity lives in the paradigm that's not about defending yourself. And so I haven't studied as much as Marcello has, but I've studied some of Sharon's work, and I know Sharon, and what and that's the thing I remember. So when I feel defensive, I stop myself and say, how can I ask a curious question here? I just, like, well, why would you say that? Like you have to watch your tone too. Right? Yeah. Why would you say that? It's not the same.
Yeah.
Why would you say that? Like, help me understand. It's a different experience. So her work is so nuanced. It's there's a lot of there's a lot to study there, and there are a lot of our internal systems that need to be reprogrammed to be able to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit similar with mindfulness. You have to be in the present moment. There's nothing than the present moment, of course. All of us are in the present moment, but we have to be focused, and we have to be in the present moment as when we exercise for mindfulness, for instance, to be focused and to to feel the moment. And so are so many things that bring you to the present moment. And when we are communicating, if we are in the present moment, if you are focused, if you are being mindful in the communication, it can help. But what happens is that we leave this mindful mindset, and we came defensive. So that's an impact of being defensive. You stop being more mindful. So that's the exercise for me.
We lose our minds.
Yes.
We're not mindful, we lose our minds.
and we go to neuroscience and the pre-cortex and things like this, and the limbical system. So also we have all the neuroscience to try to help us and to bring more complexity to that.
Blanca, you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, I remember what you were saying in your conversation with Kerry, that it's like the meditation piece, you know, it's not so much about trying to stay in this, you know, enlightened bubble, but it's the coming back, the always coming back. And, you know, what you said, Kerry, I think the ideal is that we do learn these things, but we all learn from practicing, right, and exercising that muscle. And so I guess it's more for myself than anything else, is to remind myself not to be so hard on myself, because I'm going to fail in the practice of it, right? So it's just keep practicing the tool. And what was really interesting, as you've been talking, I recognize this defensiveness in my personal relationships, but I was reflecting back on one of the things that really triggered me and got me to leave corporate was that I really was so uncomfortable with negotiation. So the more senior and more experienced I got, the bigger contracts I had, and you know, the harder negotiations I had. And I was told, you know, it will get easier. The more you do, the easier it will become. And it just did not fit with my way of being. And what I was remembering as you were speaking was that I didn't get defensive. I felt powerless. I gave my power away. And because I didn't know of any other ways of practicing, I thought maybe I'm just a bad lawyer. And, you know, and when I left, I wasn't even sure I was going to practice law again. So it's really interesting for me to be in this space now with that reflection and thinking about how can I now, I suppose, heal that and also learn those tools in order for me to be able to step into that space and support my clients, you know, in a very different way, and be able to hold conflict without it disempowering me. Does that make sense? It kind of feels like I've had a light bulb moment, and it's kind of reframed it for me. But yeah.
It does make sense to me. Does Kim or Marcello, do you guys want to add to that or respond to that?
Kim?
Well, it's interesting because the course that I'm teaching at Quinnipiac is actually called The Integrative Law Approach to Negotiation.
Mm.
And I don't think I would have immediately called it a negotiation course. But in stepping back, I realized that it is. It's just not, it's not that negotiation that you probably were doing when you were doing, you know, the big deals. We're looking at like how do we listen to each other and find out what we actually need and create something that works for everybody.
Yeah.
Like that's what the negotiation is getting to know each other so that we can have everybody win. And that's you know, from what you've told me today and before, that wasn't what you were doing. You weren't looking for everybody to win, but that's actually the most effective negotiation, because if everybody wins, everybody's happy and they don't come back and try to renegotiate the deal later, to get a better outcome, because they are happy in the beginning.
Yeah.
So
It is when, and I'm just drawing on like my practice, when people are on the same page with that. Like I've had negotiations for business, different businesses coming together to create a joint venture, and where the different parties, they had different, they all believed in the end result, right? Maybe they had different ideas or different approaches, but they all wanted the same thing. Those negotiations were very different and so much better for me as a lawyer than the one where you had like maybe a power imbalance between the two sides, and one wanted to just get as much as they could from the other side. And that, in those ones, it's a little bit difficult, because if one attorney or one side's having that integrative approach and the other attorney's not, how do you bridge that? And I could see where that could lead to. I'm stepping where how would I feel in that type of position? I think I could imagine feeling powerless in that type of situation, or frustrated. And I could see how those are very close to feelings of, for me, when I feel powerless, I get defensive, or I get overly, I don't know, I'm beating like my chest. Like I'll become maybe a little bit more aggressive, which does not
combative,
necessarily
even.
always work.
Yeah.
Combative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Um,
interesting you said that. It did make me think that that's the case. You know, I would have these conversations to try, you know, to meet the human on the other side. And that would only go so far until they decided that's enough. Now we're negotiating. So very interesting you said that.
Carrie and Kim, please let me just for a second introduce a friend of mine, Fabio Del
yes.
Manto. He's here. Fabio
Fabio.
Del Manto, I will
Hi,
introduce
Fabio.
him. Maybe he can introduce himself later, but
Hello, guys.
He is a criminal lawyer that
Yes.
works with restorative justice, mediation, and he's with non-violent communication as well. So, and he's work on the field, and he's a great guy. So I'm very glad and happy because you are here with us, Fabio. So, and you can meet all these beautiful, incredible people here, because all people here are pioneers, are trying to do their best to try to change the legal system in a better way, in more humanity way, and things like this. So Fabio, nice to see you here.
Thank you very much, Marcello, my friend, my dear friend and professor. I met Marcello in a post-graduation course for transformation of conflict. Is that right, Marcello?
Yes. Peace
yes,
studies.
So, yes, I'm so happy to be here. Yes, I'm a criminal lawyer, but I'm always trying to look for new ways to solve conflicts, using different tools, different methods like mediation, restorative justice, and no-violent communication, and so on. I'm so happy to be here. I'm listening to you guys. So happy. I have a question for you guys. Okay, I can deal with my conflicts, which is very difficult. It's very different when I deal with my own conflicts. Then when I try to help other people in their conflicts, it's different, because when I am in the conflict myself, when I am in the conflict, it's very different. It's very difficult. It's more difficult than dealing to the other's conflicts. So I have a question. My question is, what do I do with my emotions to deal with my conflicts, my own conflicts? And what do I do with my emotions when I try to help other people in their conflicts? Thank you.
Those are very good questions. I'm going to open it up to the group before I give my thoughts on it. Marcello, Kim, Gabby, Blanca.
Well,
Gabby, I think
Gabby.
you have your hand raised.
Hi. Yeah, that's an amazing question, because I found that working in the family courts and being immersed on a daily basis in conflict, I had to start to recognize when I was being triggered by other people's issues. And I've got a bit of a history of struggling with a panic disorder. And when that panic disorder started to spill over into my professional life, I was forced to go and get some therapy for it. And so, I mean, I'm 60 years old and I've been in therapy for the first time, probably in the last maybe 5 years of my life. So I'm not of that generation like my children are. I think my children are all in therapy. They just go to therapy very readily and very easily. But my generation, there was still a stigma. And from that therapy, I've been since I've been going to therapy for my own emotional issues, I find that I'm much calmer in my courtroom, and I'm not as often triggered by the situations that come up in court, where I find myself starting to react in an emotional way, sometimes aggressive, sometimes hostile, sometimes in ways that I know I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that judge, that magistrate. I want to be that magistrate that's compassionate, that's calm, that's caring. So for me, it's been a personal journey of dealing with my own emotional baggage before I can present be professional in a calm, unemotional way. And then also in my own personal life, when I told my husband what I'm going to be doing tonight, I joked with him and I said, it's not actually a marriage enrichment talk, although it sounds like one, how to how to deal with conflict. So I've been married for 36 years. So we have learned in 36 years a lot about how to deal with conflict, and we're still learning how to not be defensive and how to respond in an emotionally mature way. So I don't know if that's an answer, but that's a little bit of my own journey around growing, hopefully, to a greater emotional wholeness individually, so that I can respond in an emotionally mature way when I'm in my workplace.
Thank you for sharing. I love how you said that you're still you and your husband learned how to communicate with each other, and you're still learning. That's very real and that's very helpful. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Anyone else like to share?
Okay, I can share, but for me, it's a little bit easier to answer the Fabio's questions because I know him and we have been having conversations, and so I know what's going on. And the point is, I think it's nice to bring that to all of you guys, is that Fabio, it's in fact, he's a great lawyer and he really thinks about concerns, building agreements and bringing lights to people over the conflicts. And he works like that. And he studies and practices restorative justice. But it's very interesting because when he's seated in a position of mediator, when he's sitting in a position of lawyer, he do very well. But now he's facing a personal conflict. Mm-hmm. And he has to deal with a situation that he's not sitting as a professional, but as an individual involved in the conflict. And he's facing and dealing with this. It's not being easy. It's not being easy. And we have been having conversation about that. So, and what I could say that we have to try to remember that we cannot change people. And the point is that normally we're starting to be aggressive and defensive because we are failing in our desire of changing the people around. Because the one that I'm talking to is not understanding what I'm saying, is not agreeing with what I'm saying, or doing something that I think he or she should do differently. then I get angry. And Fabio get angry because he's facing that. He thinks that things should be different, you know, and how to deal with that. So that's the point. It's not easy. It's about training. It's about recording that we cannot change people. We can only change ourselves. But of course, we can impact people, and we can help they have their change, but we cannot change people. So when you remember that, maybe you get more calm. And something that Fabio told me, and I totally agree, and he told, you know, Marcello, I'm facing problem with her, you know, the mother of his son. And he told me, you know, she's my master. She's helped me to understand the conflicts that I have within me and things. So I need to see her as my master. So, and this is a paradigm shift as well, and can help you to see her more compassionately, with more openness and things like this. But it's a challenging, it's not easy.
Kim?
So, Fabio, I think we met at the mall the day that the smoke was so thick that it was dark when we came outside at 3 o'clock because of the fires. Several years ago, I think we met, but
Oh, really? You think so? Where did we met?
Across in the mall across from the hotel where I was staying. Marcelo, where was that?
Ibirapuera. No. You're talking about Luis Bravo. Luis Bravo is our friend. Okay. Luis Bravo is our friend, and he's also a criminal lawyer, and he also works with criminal justice.
Yes.
They are friends.
Okay.
They are friends.
We look like each other. Yes.
Well, I don't remember anything about how people look. I remember
even the heart.
Things, but
yes.
But anyway, yeah. So I think that these two people have talked about what I would talk about. That first of all, it's really, really hard to be in your own conflict. And one of the things you're learning is what your clients are going through.
Yes,
and,
that's my point. Yes,
and
it's
that's
very
why
hard
we go get help.
Yes, to be in my conflict, to deal with my own conflict, with the mother of my son. It's very hard for me because there is a son, a 3 years old boy in the middle of the conflict, you know? And I think she loves the conflict. It's okay for her to be in the conflict. For me, it's very difficult to be in the conflict. Mostly because there is a kid in the middle of the conflict. When you have a child in the middle of the conflict, I have to think in the child first, not myself. I have to think of the child because I have to protect him, you know? It's very hard, but it's not impossible. And Marcel is my friend, and Marcel is my lawyer, my mediator also.
You have two hats on. You have the protector of the child, and you have your own hat. And because you're a mediator, you're also looking to see how you can resolve things. And so you're having 3 roles instead of just the pure role of if it were just 2 of you. And I think that's very complicated, but your attitude of saying that she's your master and what Gabby said about going to therapy, you know, like we do our own work so that when we're in conflict, we can hire the right people to help us. And then also it helps us understand what our clients are going through because we feel the emotion in a different way than because we know what it's like. And so it is a great teaching moment. But you know, if we're therapists, we would already have a system for this. Because therapists, they have other therapists and they have supervision and all that. Lawyers don't have this. You know, we're isolated.
Yeah.
So so that's one of the things about the system is that we're supposed to just be tough and fight. And that's, you know, that's not helping your 3-year-old, and you know that.
I
And
think
Carrie,
so. Yeah.
no, I just want to come back after that to Blanca's point. I would like to contribute a little bit about what she was saying about being in a negotiation room with lawyers and how difficult it is and how competitive it is. So,
Yeah, go ahead.
okay. In my point of view, Blanca, it's okay. I understand it's very hard to negotiate interests and contracts when we are negotiating with other parts and lawyers, and normally with lawyers that are more adversarial mindset and things like this. It's not easy. And what helped me is to study, to understand about the game theory. Game theory help us on that because it shows us that people that compete, the ones that compete, they have advantage over those collaborate. That's the idea. If you compete, you can have more benefits than when you collaborate, because this is math. So there are the prison's dilemma and things like this that is going to show you that the one that is competing against the one that is collaborating, it's not easy. So what's the point that I move my pieces and the other one moves their pieces depending on this interaction. So depending on how competitive he is, I became more competitive, more defensive, and then it goes. What is the key and why this game theory starting to be so important? When we see that both collaborate, when both collaborate is the best possible outcome to everybody. For those, for the environment, for society, for everybody. So this is also clear. But you have this interesting situation that we are moving and we have these negotiations and these games in sequence. And we never know when the other one is going to switch from collaboration to be a competitive guy. And when he does that, he came with some kind of benefits in the negotiation. So try to understand that. That's why collaborative practice are so nice on that point, because lawyers and all the team, they are prepared, they study and they do trainings and they are working to try to learn how to build bridges among people. So if you are talking about conscious contracts with clients that want a conscious contract, then you are going to be realized. You are going to have people that understand that they want that. When I'm sitting as a mediator and people want to mediate and they understand the rules of mediation, it's nice. It's great. I feel like realized in collaborative practice as well. But the point is that this is just part of the game, because there are mediation that people don't want, and they are competing, they're negotiating, and they're using a lot of tools. And so depend on people, you know that. So if you want to negotiate, you need to learn these tools. You need to feel comfortable in the competition game. If you can feel comfortable in the competition game, you really need to go through a different approaches, different clients, different conflict solutions. You know, You need to find clients that want this kind of approach. Because if you be free in the market, as I am, I'm free in the market. I can receive any kind of clients, any kind of. So I'm going to receive different people with different perspectives. And I need that's my exercise, to try to understand and be flexible enough to help, depending on how this is complex, despite how complex it is, how it's adversarial or not. Everything that I do is trying to solve problems. I try to build bridges. Okay, but sometimes if I just trying to do this, I know that I'm going to face problems because game theory proves that to me. And then I'm going to fail with my clients. So it's better not to be in the room to negotiate if I know that I'm not able to be competitive if it's necessary to be. So that's my idea.
No, thank you. And
I
that picks up from our, oh, sorry, go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say, I think that's really brilliant because so many mediators become mediators because they can't be competitive. And I actually was a good litigator, and I have I call it, like getting my lawyer on, when I need to. But I was doing family law, and so doing family law, I didn't want to harm children. And so I stopped playing that game, but I was not
Yes.
afraid of the game.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Which,
And so many mediators are afraid of that game. And so
True.
I think that's really interesting. Sorry, Carrie, go ahead.
oh, no, I just pick up.
Lots of mediators are conflict avoiders. Lots of them.
Yeah.
I was just going to pick up on our conversation, Marcello, have one comment that's directed to this, and then Fabio will get to your raised hand too in a second. In our conversation, you had talked about, when you're learning new ways to practice law, when you're learning new tools, it doesn't mean you drop the old ones, because you still may need them, right? Depending on the situation. So it's expanding and to include new tools when you need it. And so that's what I was just thinking about that. Sometimes the competitive nature does come in handy and you'll need that tool set. And one of the things that you're saying of feeling comfortable in that, or whatever the situation calls for, to feel comfortable in that. I don't know why this reminded me of this situation, but I'm going to share it with you guys. When my niece was about 3 years old, she was having a party, like it was a birthday party for her, but I remember looking at her and it was like a whole bunch of little kids and everything. And I remember looking at my little niece and she felt like, I could see it. She felt scared and awkward with everyone around. And I just wanted to go over and tell her, like, you deserve to be in this room just like anyone else. And, to have her feel that. And then that moment with her has fueled a self-talk for myself later on when I was in my practice and I felt nervous. I imagined myself telling that to my little 3-year-old niece, to myself. I deserve to be in this room just like anyone else. I did, whether it's the courtroom or a negotiation room. So if anyone's listening to this offline or anyone here, you deserve to be in any room where you are in at any given moment. Fabio, your comment.
Yes, my lovers. What I can say is that sometimes people are not ready to be collaborative, to talk in a collaborative way. They don't like mediation. The culture of conflict is bigger than the mediation or collaborative way of being. So in case of the mother of my son, she doesn't have the culture of being collaborative. She doesn't have the culture of being dialogue, to talk about things. She prefers to say, no, I'm in the conflict. She said to the babysitter, if Fabio wants to sue me, he can sue me, no problem. He can sue me. Sue me. Okay, Marcelo, you don't know that, but let me tell you that she said to the babysitter, I have the right to stay with my child two times a week, and I'm after after 3 years old, I have the right of being with him 2 times a week, and she's not allowed me to be 2 times a week, just once a week. And I sent her an email, and she didn't respond me. And she said to the babysitter, okay, if Fabio wants, he can sue me. I don't like that. So I have a very difficulty to play the game. But sometimes that's why she's a master for me, because she's teaching me how to be in a game. Like Marcelo said, sometimes we have to play the game, just play the game. Okay, so I have to play the game, and sometimes, okay, I have to go to the justice. Okay, I go to the justice if I need to do that, you know. Because sometimes, you know, I think that people are like a fruit. The fruit is not ripe. You know, a ripe fruit. Sometimes the fruit is not ready to go to a mediation. She's anger. She doesn't have the culture of being collaborative. She doesn't have this culture, so the fruit is not ready. So I believe that with suffering, sometimes the suffering is good, because sometimes the fruit is going to be ripe, the ripe fruit. When the ripe fruit comes, okay, then he goes to the mediation. That's what I think, you know. So I'm learning to be hard. I don't like to be hard. I don't like to be in a conflict. That's why I studied mediation, restorative justice. That's why I studied all of this stuff, all of these techniques, let's say that, the way of I see the life. Um, um, but I have to learn it. I have to learn it, Marcelo, how to be in a conflict, you know? So let's play the game. Okay, she wants me to play the game, let's play the game. No problem, but I have to be aware, because there is a child in the middle of that, you know? So I have never to talk in front of him about the mother. I cannot never talk about the mother in front of him, you know? Never, never, never. I cannot never do that, you know, because I have to protect the child. The child is the main issue here. He's the most important. Okay. That's it.
So what I know about the Thomas Kilmann, which is not the game theory, but similar to what we're talking about, is that when I'm teaching this, I always say that the competitive person will burn the house down rather than give up. You know, that's the extreme competitive person. But they don't respect avoidance or collaboration or compromise or accommodation. They only respect meeting their energy. So the challenge that I see when you want to be collaborative, but you have the competitive person, is you have to meet them where they are without escalating, because they want to escalate, and you've got to meet them on their level and hold that until perhaps it gets uncomfortable for them enough that they're willing to resolve things. But there's I always see it like a yoga pose, you know, like there's these two forces that have to meet just right without escalating, because if you escalate, then the other person escalates and it just gets worse and worse. But you have to meet the energy.
And that's where, when you said it's the challenge, that's where I could imagine it being a huge challenge. And that's where it goes into doing the work ourselves, so that when we're in those situations, hopefully doing the work before we get into that situation, so that we have a chance at maintaining it at that level without escalating it. Gabby, I think you raised your hand. Gabby, would you like to say something?
You're on
Yes,
mute.
sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, just listening to Fabio, I feel like I'm back at work because I hear this painful situation often every day. One of the things I try to introduce into the conversation is, well, do you think that's in the best interests of the child? Or ask the person who's being combative, who's being difficult about contact with the other parent. Let's talk about what this child needs and what is the best for this child, rather than what either you or the other parent want. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes it does shift the conversation. And then there was something else that I heard, and I don't know who said it to me and where I heard it, but it stuck with me. And that is that, and I think it's true in the context of family law sometimes, that conflict is a form of intimacy. And that when some people haven't actually broken away from the relationship, that conflict is a way of them remaining engaged with the other party. So that's just my two penny worth to that. Is it Fabio? I really feel for you. It's a very painful thing that you're going through.
Gabby, I think you and I had that conversation about conflict as intimacy. I had it with somebody recently, but that it's a good cover because if you're in conflict, you don't have to be in grief.
Mhm.
And the end of a relationship is about grieving, and so if you stay in the conflict, the relationship never ends.
Yes, it makes too much sense. It makes too much sense to me.
I want to be mindful of our time. We're at the moment where we've actually gone over a little longer than we normally do, but I thought the conversation was interesting and worthwhile for everyone. I hope you found it as such. And one of the takeaways I want to hear or leave us with is, as everyone's kind of mentioned, like when you are a collaborative or integrative lawyer, but the person on the other side or the individuals are not, that's part of what we're doing here, is to expanding that culture of integrative approach so that more lawyers, more clients will be familiar with it. And, maybe even it would be nice if there's a day where even a client who's not receptive to it, but the lawyer on the other side can somehow give an approach to, okay, how can we solve this for everyone's best interest? And Fabio, in a case like yours, for the best interest of your child and for everyone involved. So that's part of what we're doing at Integrative Lawyers of the World, is expanding the culture of peace and problem solving through, and the final thing that my takeaway from this is that doesn't just apply in our tools that we use in our practice, but the practices and our commitment to heal ourselves in times of crisis, but in the times of everyday life, to maintain that practice so that we have a reserve in those times of crisis. Marcello or Kim, I'm going to give you guys a chance. Any final thoughts?
Marcello, it's your.
I just want to say, you guys, just you to feel more comfortable and not be worried about me, because Marcello is taking care of me.
Okay.
I can tell you that I pick up my son in the school every day from Monday to Friday. And this was not in the contract with her mother, but I gained that, I conquest that, you know what I mean? So I pick up my son to school every day, and I take him to the mother's house. And of course, he cries and he wants to be with me. He wants to go to my house. And they say, no, Bento, today is the mother, you go to the mother's house. On Thursday, you go to my house, So I'm doing my points, you know what I mean? I pick up him every day in the school, So this is not too bad. I'm working, I'm walking, you know what I mean? And I'll be there. I'll have him 2 times a week. And I'm sure that when he grow up, he will live with me. I think so, you know. The mother is already in another relationship. Okay, I know the guy. I talk to the guy, you know. I hug him. I hug the guy, you know. I said, welcome to the family. Please, Pedro, call me whatever you need. I'm here. I'm open, and I have a good relationship with the mother's boyfriend now. That's me. Yes, he's a good guy. So I'm working. You know, I'm doing my best. You know, but sometimes I think that I have to be hard and put limits. I have to put limit on her. You know, and I have to learn how to do that. You know. And in order not to get the things worse, but get the things better, you know. But I'm doing well, I think so. It's not hard, it's not difficult, it's not easy, it's difficult, but I'm doing well. Yeah, thank you guys for
Thank you
listening.
for letting
Thank you.
us know that. Thank you. Marcello, do you want to close us out today?
Yes, I think it's pretty amazing, pretty interesting, because what came to me is that something like this. Let's take Fabio's example, because it's interesting when he's passing through all this conflict that is not easy to him. But you know, when he's going to help someone, a client, he can be more empathic with that. He can understand a little bit more. Imagine that, Fabio, in your case, if your relation with the mother of David was nice, now and you don't have this experience of conflict. That's an option, an idea. You know how much are you learning with this experience, and how this can help you out to be a better lawyer and a better litigator, because you know in the flesh how hard it is to dispute a child with the mother. So I think it's nice. It's an experience that, I don't know how long, but sometime you are going to recover that, to see, I learned with that. So this is magical in my point of view. I know
Yeah.
that now it's not easy. Now it's not easy, but it's going to be, and it's going to give you more tools to work in other situations for you, for yourself, and for a lot of people that you like to help, and you help every day.
Yes,
So,
that's why I said to you, it was not easy to say to you that she's my master. Because actually she's a witch, you know, a bad witch. I can say that because here I am the conflict. I am the one who is the conflict. So I can say, you know, because I'm the conflict. I'm the patience here. So she's a witch, yes. A bad person, I can say you. I know I'm making judgments. I know that, but no problem. I know that. But I'm learning. That's my point. I'm learning, Marcello, and everybody. I'm learning with that, you know, how to be in an adversarial field. How to be in an adversarial field, you know.
Yes.
So I have roses in my right hand, and I have a knife or a weapon in my left hand, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
You believe that. I know that you believe that. Well, to conclude my saying, I think the Fabio's example, it's going to be, it's going to serve for all of us, because we want to work with conflict, with difficult situations, and one thing is to work to other people, and another thing is to work our own conflicts. So that's the challenge. So this is an example that I think it's useful for everybody that works in that field. So thank you so much, everyone. Sorry for the time.
Good to see you, friend.
Good to see you. Good to see you. And I really enjoy this experience and this moment with you. You guys, thank you so much. That was a nice initiative, very nice initiative. I was so glad with that. And whenever you have this conversation with the people that are going to be interviewed, please send me the information. I would like to participate and be in touch with all of you. For me, it's always an honor, a great moment.
Thank you for joining
Thank
us,
you.
Marcello.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys, and please let me know the next meeting, okay? Let me know the next meeting. I want
Okay,
to join you guys. I want to join you. Where are you from? You are talking from United States. Where are you guys from?
I'm in
from the
Cape
United
Town,
States.
South Africa, and so is Gabby. But
South
I'm an
Africa, South
American.
Africa, and United States. Gabriela, where are you from?
No, I'm South African and I live in Cape Town. And Kim is from America and she's visiting in Cape Town.
Cape Town.
And-
I've been there
and-
once. Yes. Yes. Okay. So everybody here is from South Africa. You live in South Africa,
No.
is that right? No?
No, Carrie's in England, but she's an American.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm an
in England,
American, but I'm in
American.
England.
You live in England, Carrie. And you?
I'm in the process of moving to England. My husband is British, so we're just in the process of getting the spousal visa. So I'm in transition
Okay.
between the US and England.
Okay. Okay. Thank you I'm very happy to meet you guys.
Very
Fabio.
happy to meet you.
Fabio, Kim Wright is a citizen of the world.
Yeah.
What? Tell again? Sorry?
Kim Wright
Tell me
is a
again.
Kim Wright is a citizen of the world.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay.
In fact,
I got that.
In fact, literally.
Okay, Rose. Rose is in the both hand, you know? Rose in the both hands.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.